All right, everybody, welcome for another movie graveyard interview. You know, when I used to be a guest on podcasts and on magazines, I used to always cover the films of Lorenzo Lamas. I covered him so much, the running gag was I had a man crush on him. Well, I'm proud to say that today we can clarify that as I am sitting here with the great Lorenzo Lamas, star of Falcon Crest, Renegade, Snake Eater, My Favorite, Bounty Tracker, and many others. How are you doing today? And thank you so much for joining me.
Well, I'm doing really well. I'm here in Huntington Beach, California, living the life of an ex-action star. But I still work occasionally, in front of the camera. But most of the time, I'm flying as a helicopter or medical pilot, which has been tremendously fulfilling. So I really enjoy living in Southern California and being able to work for a company that does so many good things for folks out there that need help.
If I guess, say, skipping ahead many years, what made you decide to become a helicopter pilot?
It was a hobby, honestly. I started flying back in 1997 when I was on Renegade and started in airplanes, and then was curious about rotorcraft helicopters. I just took it up as kind of a hobby. And 6 years ago, when sometimes you get to a point in your life where you've got to kind of figure out what the next step is going to be, and you look in your toolbox. And in my toolbox, I had these ratings that I wasn't doing anything with. So I went back to flight school, and I got an instructor license to teach helicopters, and I did that. And that's basically how pilots get to be professionals, is they accrue time teaching people how to fly, and that gets you your hours. And then once you get about 1,000 hours, you can get your first real job. So it sort of started there.
Now, I saw, or I should say my wife showed me a picture, I think it was on your Facebook page. You just got a license. Are you like a legit bounty hunter now?
Oh, I'm a proprietary security officer. Basically, that's a long version of being a security guard. So I did that because I got a friend of mine that has a company that does bail bonds and also fugitive recovery. He goes out there and gets the guys that skip bail, and I thought that might be a fun kind of adrenaline rush, to be able to go out with him on the road and do that stuff. And if nothing else, I can do security at red carpet events and gifting suites, and I can accompany VIPs when they go about their business, around LA here. So it's just another feather in the cap.
I was going to say, because you are a legit martial artist. For those that don't know, you're in. I know you're in Black Belt Magazine Hall of Fame. You're in the legitimate martial arts Hall of Fame. Am I correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What styles are you proficient in?
Well, I started in Taekwondo. Got my black belt, my first one in Taekwondo, and a second black belt I got in Budo Jiu-Jitsu, which is a combination martial arts that was created by Al Thomas. Now, Al Thomas and Ed Parker were judo competitors in the 1964 Olympics representing our country. Ed Parker went on to create his form of martial arts. He did the Kempo.
Kempo, my style.
And Al Thomas went on to create Budo Jiu-Jitsu, and he taught the LA County Sheriffs and LAPD, and a lot of law enforcement agencies would employ him in training and different takedown techniques and submission holds and things like that would be applicable to law enforcement. And so I got my black belt with Al back in 1989. And then I studied Aikido. Went down to Hollywood and studied at the Saidakan Institute So I'm basically a martial arts junkie, and I have been for years.
Do you still train?
I hit the bag and I do kata. That's about all I do now.
Yeah.
I mean, to go into a dojo now and roll around with dudes it is not really my cup of tea these days. I like to roll around with the fairer sex.
Oh, yeah, when I went back and because I started studying with my son, I'm 46, and so when I was 46, I went back and boy, I can hit that bob that they have there harder than any of them kids. But boy, after about a good 3-4 minutes there, I'd be losing any fight I was in. I can tell you that.
Well, you have to work on your stamina, and that's what tends to be the challenge as we get older. So, I've always been a swimmer, and I ride my bicycle. I've got an e-bike that I take out 3 or 4 times a week, and I hit the bag. And there's nothing that gets me sweating more than a heavy bag workout. So, I just try to do the best I can to stay as fit as I can, while working a 40-hour week. So, you just, you when you have the time, you make it happen.
Now, when you first broke in, did you always know you wanted to be an actor?
Actually, no. In high school, I was studying I wanted to be a veterinarian. So, I really never felt like I had the looks or the charisma to be an actor. I was a fat kid with glasses and braces, and I just never thought that I would ever be able to do it. But I was not accepted to my first choice. I wanted to go to Davis for veterinary medicine, and I wasn't accepted to Davis. I was accepted to UCSB, and I was thinking of going to college, but I took a year off. Basically, because I graduated high school at 17, I skipped a grade. So I thought I would take a year off to really figure out if veterinary medicine was something that I really wanted to do. And in that year, I took some acting classes, and I found that probably was my calling. I had lost a ton of weight between my junior and senior year in high school. I wrestled and ran track. Lost a bunch of weight and grew about 3 inches in about 18 months. So I looked more like an actor, I guess. And that was it. I hit the pavement and went on auditions, and it took a while, a couple of years, to get a job. But I supported myself I was a physical trainer at a health club, and I parked cars and I pumped gas, and I just, did what I had to do. And then, eventually I got Grease, the movie, and that kind of opened the door up a little bit for other things.
Which, if I'm mistaken, did you have? Cause I'm the one guy alive that isn't like a big fan of that film. Did you have any speaking parts in that? I honestly can't remember. I just remember you standing there with Olivia Newton-John a handful of times.
I did not have a speaking role. I was a glorified extra. But what I did was I tried to steal the scenes by moving my mouth to make words like I had lines. And there was a scene at a bonfire. I was a football player, and Olivia played a cheerleader. And there's a scene in the movie at a bonfire where we're doing a pep rally for the game coming up. And they shot my close-up first. So in my close-up, and Olivia is behind the camera on the other side, in my close-up, I mouthed the words, "Hello, how are you?" Mm-hmm. And, of course, off camera, she answered me. She mouthed the words, "Fine, how are you?" And then I mouthed the words, "Fine." So when they turned the camera around to get her close-up, they had to do the same thing because they had printed my take. So they had to match her answering me. So that's how those lines got in the movie, but they weren't scripted, and they were made up on the spot by a a pretty sharp little kid that knew how to play the camera a little bit.
Now I have to ask this because people always get mad when I say it. Do you agree with the fact that Grease is the dirtiest movie to always air on the Family Channel, considering the whole plot of the movie is pretend to be someone you're not to have sex?
20 years ago, maybe, but certainly not anymore. I think a lot of those references were subtle enough back then that it completely went over the heads of, pre-teens. But, of course, now, people get the joke. Kids get the joke now.
And then you did another, not another, because that was a theatrical. You did a made-for-TV movie called Detour to Terror with Nordberg, as I always call him, O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, Detour to Terror was Columbia Television, and I was kind of being, I guess, thrown around a little bit for the next series lead for some different TV shows, Hardy Boys, and I ended up doing California Fever with Jimmy McNichol, and but at that time, Joel Thurm was a pretty, he was a heavyweight in casting, and he called my agent. He said, "I've got a television movie for Lorenzo. I think he'd be good at it. There's not a lot of dialogue, but it's a character role, and it's a kind of a bad guy. And O.J. Simpson's in it. Artie Johnson is in it. Arlene Francis is in it. We think it'd be good for Lorenzo to have that kind of visibility. It's going to be an ABC television movie. And remember, back in those days, you had these TV movies that would get a lot of promotion.
Yeah.
TV Guide, and during the course of the week, they would run ads on television on that network. So I think that was a pretty good way to get people to watch those TV movies. So I did it. And O.J. Simpson played a bus driver driving a busload of elderly people to Las Vegas for a weekend of gambling. And I was a thief and a robber and a dune buggy driver that hijacked that bus and basically manhandled O.J. Simpson and managed to kind of abuse a few of the passengers on that Greyhound bus. So it by no means was it wasn't a reflection of the parts that I would play in the future, because I kind of got pigeonholed as being the kind of the hero type. But it was a great experience for me to play that heavy. I never got a chance to play a lot of those bad guy roles, and they're a lot of fun. They really are. And OJ was just terrific. I mean, everybody loved that guy. He was a real humble guy on the set. He was never a diva. He didn't act like a movie star. He was just. We all looked up to him. Let's face it. Before the White Bronco, we all loved O.J. Simpson. Man, he was the Hertz man. He was the guy that. With Howard Cosell, he co-hosted a lot of these ABC sports events and things like that. So, it was, I think, as big of a shock to me as it was to the rest of the world. But back then, of course, he was a good guy, and I met Nicole also because she came out to visit him on the set. We shot this TV movie in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they were just a great-looking couple. We had dinner together. I
don't think people today realize what an icon he was back then. Like in terms of entertainment, sports, all types of media. I don't think people realize that nowadays.
He was a triple threat, man. He was a triple threat. He was a commercial success. He was a Hall of Fame NFL Heisman Trophy winner, football player, spokesperson, sportscaster. There's nothing that guy didn't do, and he lived a life that we were all in awe of, prior to that fateful, event. And I did another movie with him. He was in CIA
Codename Alexa. Yes.
Yeah, I did 2 movies with him.
And after, shortly after that, that's when you got your big breakthrough. You were, I won't lie to you, I never watched a single episode. Falcon Crest. You were Lance Cumson, I think that's how they pronounce the character's last name, if I'm right.
Lance Cumson, and another veiled, titillating last name. But that show, Falcon Crest, went for 9 years. That was my finishing school in terms of acting, I think.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you what. I thought you did really good in Takedown, to be honest with you. I thought that was a very underrated performance.
It's very nice that you mentioned that. I think that's probably one of my favorite performances, if not my absolute favorite of all the things that I've done, all the years, all the movies, over 100 movies I've done. That's probably one of my favorites, and if not the favorite.
I mean, because that was what you call a true, blue collar performance in my eyes.
That was a very raw performance. I wrote a song for the movie that Keith Merrill, the director, decided to keep in. It was my debut. It was my first leading role. And I think that was a pretty high bar that I'd set for myself at that early stage of my career.
Then you did Body Rock.
And then Body Rock.
That had Ray Sharkey in it, so you've already got one great thing going for it.
Absolutely. Ray was a great friend of mine.
I think he did an arc on the Ken Walsh show, Wise Guy, as Sonny Steelgrave.
Yeah.
He could have been another De Niro, in my opinion, in terms the Mafia movie. He was so good.
Absolutely. He did a one-man Broadway show that he took on the road, and it was an incredible performance. We had the same manager for quite a few years, and he was a gifted actor, and I really look forward to working with him in that movie. When my manager said that Ray's doing the movie with me, I said, fantastic. The movie is gonna be a better movie because of it.
Now, you were the pretty guy in Grease, pretty guy in Body Rock, pretty guy in Falcon Crest. Then when you did Snake Eater, were you kind of trying to get away from the pretty boy and go more into the action films?
Yeah, I told my agent that I'm done with playing in a soap opera. I want to be an action star, and I want you to find me something where I can be my action. I want to do karate. I want to shoot guns. I want it to be the American James Bond. So we really got lucky with Snake Eater. That was John Dunning and Michael Pasternak that produced that movie. They did Meatballs, that movie that with what's his face?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. Yeah. So this was another production by that same company. It just wasn't it wasn't a studio film. It was a straight to video.
I liked Snake Eater a lot. There's only 2 things I've always wondered. Oh, by the way, whose ever idea it was to take a Harley and combine it with a jet ski, that was genius.
It was genius.
But my question, in the beginning, and this has always bothered me for years, when you first get to, for those of you who don't know, fans, Snake Eater is about to be released by NSM Records in Germany. They're putting out Snake Eater 1, 2, and 3 on Blu-ray. I'll have the link to where to pre-order them in this interview. Snake Eater, you play Jack Soldier Kelly. You're suspended from the police force, and your family has just been murdered by inbred hillbillies who kidnap your sister to breed with her. It sounds really good, fans. And yeah, it was great, and you have to save her. But when you roll into this town where the hillbillies are, you meet a guy who owns the marina boat that they rented, and you get in a fight with these hillbillies, and all at once, and I can't think of the actor's name, he comes blasting out of his garage on his Harley and yells, "Look out," and he proceeds to drive the Harley straight into the river. Was that scene an accident, or did, and they thought, this is funny, let's leave it in, or was that supposed to be how it went?
No, that was an accident that happened that they kept it in.
Okay, because it made no sense, but it was funny.
You have to remember, these movies were made for $4. If you get some kind of gold like that, it's going to stay in the movie.
Well, and the movie, my other thing that I wondered is, of course, Kelly, soldier, he gets there, the hillbillies one-up him, so then he's got to get his gun, he's got to convert his pistol into an automatic, he's got to do the little montage where he gets ready. He somehow had the hindsight to pack his old Special Forces t-shirt with him for this mission.
Yeah, the Snake t-shirt.
Which I thought that was great.
If you want to believe this or not, I still have a Snake Eater t-shirt. Legit. Like, I still have it. I've never worn it. I basically keep folding it and moving it from all the houses that I've lived in for the last 30 years, but I still have that freaking t-shirt.
If you ever want to sell it, you got a buyer right here.
Every once in a while, I'll still put it on and run around in it. It's funny.
The only other thing I wondered about the film, which a great opening scene there, where you have sex with the lady to prove you're not wired, which I guess is some form of entrapment. But how long do you think it took the character to rig the hotel room with all the nails to shoot into the guy's feet?
They did it in one day.
Oh.
The day before we shot the scene, they had the set and special effects rigged it. I think that turned out amazing. With the different cuts and the editing, it looks really good.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite scene in the film.
It still holds up. And remember these films, there were no special effects. There's no CGI. These movies were practical. So what you see is what actually happened, that moment, including all the pyrotechnics, all the explosions and, the bullet hits and the squibs, all that stuff was all real time, and we all did it ourselves. George Hirschbaumer, the director, was a special effects guy before he became a second unit director. So he knew how to do all the squibs. He knew how to load all the pyrotechnics. And it was great having a director with that kind of acumen and experience, because he would tell me, I think it's in the Drug Buster one, was that Snake 2?
Yep.
Where, I throw something down the hallway and it just blows up and the flames come down the hallway. He had me up against the wall there in front of the camera. And he said, okay, Lorenzo, when I say rolling, I don't want you to move, okay? I'm going to cue special effects for the explosion. When I say action is when I want you to turn away. So he goes, okay, camera, speed, rolling, and boom, action. So he detonated the charge, which blew the fireball down the hallway. And on action is when I moved away. And it was just perfect, right? I mean, I felt the heat. Trust me, I felt the heat of that fireball. But because he was so good at what he did, there really wasn't a danger as long as I listened, to what he said.
Now, when you finished, like at the end of Snake Eater, I pray to God I don't butcher this poor man's last name, because he was a great actor. He's gone way too soon. Ron Palillo. Palillo, who, those of you not familiar, Horshack, or the guy that helped bring Jason Voorhees back to life in Part 6. You arrest him at the end of Part 2, or at Part 1. That's the final sequence where you arrest him. He's an arsonist, and he's in Part 2. I've heard 2 and 3 were filmed back to back. Were these all filmed very close with each other?
No. There was about a year and a half between 2 and 3. Actually, when I got the call from my agent that they were doing 3, I was surprised, because I had heard they were going to do a 3 after we finished 2, and then nothing. Like it was crickets for almost 2 years, and then I got the call from my agent that they're going to go back up to Toronto and do 3.
3 is my favorite of the series.
Is it, with the wheelchair stuff and all that?
And you had Bam Bam Bigelow in it. Fans as the biker who couldn't hold his pee, and
Minor Mustaine, who was pretty awesome.
He was also in an episode of Renegade, I do believe.
He was, yeah.
Snake Eater 2 fans, that follows. These movies have a pattern. They always end with Lorenzo's character being suspended from the force. Yet he's somehow, though, able, after committing vigilante murders through the rest of the films, to keep getting reinstated. But part 2, he teams with Speedboat, a.k.a. Lamar Luttrell from Revenge of the Nerds, to take down It's a great idea. It's a drug dealing operation, but they're cutting the drugs with poison to make it a little cheaper, and they're killing people, and you get locked in the loony bin, and yet you're able to sneak out every night.
Yes, yeah. There aren't very many orderlies guarding the doors.
No, you bump into a Domino's pizza guy sneaking back in one scene, crawling through an air duct.
Yeah.
See, I know these movies, fans.
You know them very well. I hesitate to say probably better than I know them.
3 is my favorite. That's where, and 3 has a great line, because in the beginning, after you're suspended for shooting a guy in the head, and you're suspended, the character is like, again, which is a really fitting thing. But that one was, I think, the most well written. A biker gang has, abused and raped this girl so much she's like a submissive, mute sex slave, and the family hires you to kill all of them.
Yeah,
and that, I thought that's just a hell of a movie.
Well, thank you.
And in between, you did Night of the Warrior with Ken Foray, I believe.
I did. Yeah, that was 1989. A few years. Well, I guess it was just right after that, maybe, or a couple of years after. But yeah, Ken Foray and oh my God, the guy that played my boss, Anthony Geary.
Oh, yeah. Your mom was in that film too, wasn't she?
I did ask them to allow me to ask my mom to play that scene as my mother Edie, and Thomas Ian Griffith, also a phenomenal martial artist.
Oh yeah, I like him.
In his own right, he wrote that movie and produced it with Mike Irwin for Trimark. And I asked Thomas if he would mind if my mom came and did a role, and he said, would she? And I said, I think so. And so we flew my mom out, and we shot that scene in one night, one long night. And it's kind of like having a family album, in terms of the keepsakes that you cherish, when you want to look at your family album. That's kind of like a keepsake for me, having my mom in that movie.
And that one got a little bit of, actually not a little, it got a lot of cable play a few years back when Ken Foray started doing the Rob Zombie films. So that one got a little nice resurgence, which I was glad to. That's one of your not as highly talked about films, but it's actually really, really good. Acting's good. The photography scenes are good. Of course, the fight scenes are good. I think it's a very good film.
Well, James Liu and I met on that movie. He did that great gritty fight scene in the power station on the floor, that concrete floor where we just run around with each other and kick the shit out of each other. So James Liu and Anthony Geary, of course, the heavy, Ken Foray, and my wife at the time, Kathleen Kinmont, was also in that movie. If you remember, my character meets her at a restaurant. She's a waitress at a restaurant, and bring her back. And I'm a photographer, and we do a photo shoot. And it was a very artistic movie, perhaps too artistic for the genre. And I think that's probably what really did it in at the end, why I didn't get more play on Cinemax. It was just a little bit too artsy. And that's because we had this great director, Raphael Zelinsky, who was a music video director that had a tremendous eye for the camera. And he did that film noir style in the movie, and which was good. I think it does help separate that action film from the rest of the ones that I did. But I think it also maybe limited the amount of audience that it was appealing to. So,
and I love the random line where she just asks you, the girls at your clubs, do you have sex with them? And you just like look back at her and you're like, sometimes. I thought for some reason I just really enjoyed that line. It's like, well, this is a casual way of admitting he sleeps around. This is great. No, I like, and then now my number one downloaded interview. This man's first movie was If You Don't Blink, and this actor remembered it, fans, my man Gary Daniels. You got to be in one of his very first films ever. I don't think he talked. He nodded his head in Final Impact.
Right, Final Impact. PM Entertainment.
Oh, they were great. They made awesome movies back in the day.
I directed my first film for them, which was a great experience to do that.
And which one was that?
That was CIA, codename CIA2.
Okay, Target Alexa.
Target Alexa. With oh gosh, that guy that was in great actor, fantastic actor. It was in Deer Hunter. What the heck is it?
John Savage?
Yeah.
That's right, he was the terrorist guy, Klug. And I thought Final Impact was good. I didn't like that they had to kill you off, though. That was bullshit.
I might have asked them to, because I didn't want to do a third one.
I like the film. The film. If fans, I'm gonna tell you, if you're into kickboxing, especially like I was heavy at the time, this is a film to watch because there is an ungodly amount of training scenes, and you can actually kind of learn a lot from it.
There were a lot of training scenes. Yeah.
Especially when you taught him how not to telegraph, and that was Joseph Murray. Actually, was one of the people behind that film. Correct?
Yeah, Joseph Murray is the M in PM Entertainment, and Rick Pepin, the director cinematographer, is the P in PM. So it's actually Pepin Murray Entertainment.
And his brother is Jalal, correct?
Correct.
I liked his movies too.
Yeah.
See, this was such a beautiful time for action fans.
It was. It really was the strongest period of time for these movies. You know, my good friend Olivier Gruner also did many of these great movies. Jalal he produced a lot of Olivier's circuit movies.
Those were, I liked I never saw the Third Circuit film. I saw the first two. You were in part two, correct?
I was in the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we had the Snake Eater, and then you did what you mentioned earlier, CIA Codename Alexa, that re-teamed you with OJ.
Yeah.
Did you ask for him to be in that, or was it just good luck casting?
It just was the casting. You know, it was the casting. It was great directing him.
And I like that. That was a really good film that, you got to see Kathleen Kidmont. She really showed off her action skills in that movie. A tremendous job.
She was a really good student. She was obviously very capable physically. She'd been a skier her whole life. I used to ski with her family during the wintertime. And so she's athletic, she's coordinated, and it was kind of easy to teach her these different moves and techniques for the fight scenes that she was doing.
And then you did my favorite. Well, of course, now you're. Let me interject real quick. Now you're doing Renegade, which really puts you into the forefront for action there. Which that's a hell. I think everybody's familiar with Renegade. You're Framed for Murder by Stephen J. Cannell, aka Dutch Dixon. That was a hell of a show.
Yeah, that was probably the best of all of them for me. I got a chance to direct a few episodes, and I coordinated the karate, and we lived in San Diego, did the show for 5 years down there in San Diego. It was just a great experience. Made lifelong friends.
You got to beat up Jesse the Body Ventura in the first season, for God's sakes.
I got to beat up a bunch of people.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You know, did you get different writers in between? Because I felt like the first season I liked, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, those all seemed like they were better than the first season. It almost like a different team took over.
We did have different writers. You know, Stephen Cannell, of course, was the creator, so every script that was written had to go through his filter. But Nick Correa was the guy that wrote the first couple of seasons, and then Rick Oakey came on, and who I got along with great. Rick Oakey really, I think, got the essence of the character really well. But you know, as you proceed with season after season, you know, you flesh out different things about a character. You don't want to just keep doing the same thing, the same character, the same takes, the same reactions, you know, over a course of, you know, several seasons. So Rick was really good at bringing out some subtle challenges that would bring out different parts of the character, you know. So I always said that if we were ever going to do another version, or you know, a new version of Renegade, it would entail having Rick come on and help us. You know, we don't have Steven anymore, so we'd need Rick to come on and keep it legit.
Was there now when I was actually at first excited when USA took it over, because I was like, okay, because I was having to watch it at like midnight in my area on Saturdays, and it was like, okay, USA, this is going to be good. And then it just kind of stopped. I mean, did you guys have plans to continue doing it?
Well, I did. The problem is when they sold the show to USA, they had basically agreed to strip the show, which means that they would show the same episode 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And you know, the audience just got burned out. You know, we weren't giving them any new seasons. So it started to underperform. And yeah, that was kind of I think that was the dagger in the heart for the show when they sold it to USA. I think the 3rd season, we gave them another 2 seasons, and they just oversaturated that cable market.
Now, I've heard a rumor, because I'm a big fan, so this could be a scoop to everyone listening, that there is supposedly an episode filmed where you capture Dutch Dixon and clear your name. Is that true?
There's an episode where I clear my name, and it's out there. You know, it's been released, but there is no episode where I capture him.
Ah, okay, fans. So if you've heard the rumor, it's not true.
Yeah, there's an episode where I find the evidence to clear my name, but we never actually, you know, take him into custody. So
I would have assumed the next season would have been you chasing him down.
Well, there's always that. You know, we were always trying to find him and get the evidence that ties him to Hog Adams, you know. So that was that evidence tying him to Hog Adams was what eventually did it.
Yeah, but I wanted to see more where now he's on the run and your name's clear and you're hunting him. That's what I had envisioned another season of doing.
Yeah, I don't think Stephen Cannell would ever agree to being the guy on the run.
Yeah, then you did, you know, basically you did my favorite of your movies. You did I like to call it the movie version of Renegade, where you were Jonathan Damone, the bounty tracker.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I enjoyed doing that. That was for New Image. Pierre David was producing, and he had a little bit of money to put into that movie, so it was a pretty good budget. You know, we had almost a month and a half, maybe 6 weeks to shoot that. That was a good one. Yeah,
with my man Mr. Mateus Hughes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hell of a movie. The one thing that I always found the funniest is in the beginning, and fans, I actually wrote like some huge dissertation of this film years ago that was well received. How did your character, I called you the best, no, you were number 2, a best undercover character in history, because I liked how you were disguised in glasses and a suit as a preppy British guy to go to a club where no one knew who you were. I thought that was commitment that I've never seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all can be basically credited with overacting from time to time.
Now Billy Blanks beat you because in Back in Action, he actually murdered some people to sneak into a place that no one knew who he was. So he got you because he did murder. You just beat up a guy with a fire extinguisher. So
I did have fun doing that scene.
Oh, it's a great, that's my son, has seen pretty much all of your films. That's his favorite he really and truly loves that one. And I do too. That's my favorite of all of them.
Well, maybe if you find a link where I can get a hold of one of those, that'd be awesome. I did like that movie too.
I like that. Then, after that you did your sequel, CIA Target Alexa.
Yeah. And then there's one that I also did that I would love to get a copy of, with Brenda Strong. It was called, maybe you could help me with this. We shot it in Puerto Rico. It wasn't an action karate type of movie per se, but I did play an American private detective. And
no, that's Kari Wurr. At first, I was thinking of the one you did with Kari Wurr, but that's not it.
That's Terminal Justice.
That's a good movie too.
It is. But this one that I did with Brenda Strong, remember Brenda Strong was the voice of the wife that was done in on Desperate Housewives.
One of my wife's favorite shows.
He did the voiceover for all of those. So that's Brenda Strong. What was the name of it? And also Vincenzo, one of the guys from The Sopranos, was in that movie. He was so good at it too.
Undercurrent.
That's it. Yeah.
Now I remember that one.
I'd love to get a copy of that one.
I think I have it, actually, to be honest with you. I know I do somewhere. I told you, I'm a big fan.
You have it on DVD?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bootleg from somewhere, but yes, I do have it.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you for your copy, but...
Oh, I'm sure I could find it.
I think across it somewhere.
I actually have I have 2 copies of Bad Blood and a copy of the exact same movie called Viper.
and Bad Blood, which was originally Bad Blood, Viper was the second. Viper was a re-title for some reason, but Bad Blood was the original title. That was really, really, I thought, a well-done movie. I really enjoyed that. A lot of martial arts, a lot of great fight scenes in that movie, Bad Blood.
Oh, yeah, you beat the crap out of Joe Son, who, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Son really is a bad, bad man, let me tell you.
What's he doing now?
He's in prison.
Ooh. Did not know that.
Yeah. Joe Son, I believe is his name.
Okay.
And I'm almost positive, because he did that one Ultimate Fight where he got, I think he got punched in the groin a whole heck of a lot by Keith Hackney.
Uh-huh.
But I think I read that he went to jail.
Oh, wow. Maybe I think I might have read that too, actually.
I could be wrong, but I want to say it was like for, I don't want to say in case I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive I remember reading that he went to prison.
Mm. Well, that movie was shot in the summer of 1994, and I remember in my dressing room watching The White Bronco in between setups. So that was that summer when all that happened with OJ.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually filming Bad Blood. And Hank Cheyenne played my brother in that movie, who I really was very fond of. Great guy, Hank.
Why did they rename it Viper?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I thought that was a much better title.
Well, and I hated the trailer, because some of the trailers, the Night of the Warrior trailer, whoever made that thing is MTV slick. But the Bad Blood trailer, if you watch the Bad Blood trailer, it's a normal trailer. If you watch it on YouTube, it's dubbed over and it's like, Travis Blackstone is the Viper. It's like, no, he's not. He drives a wrecker. He doesn't have a nickname in this movie. What is this?
That's weird.
Oh, I was correct. Joe's son is currently serving life in prison in California for rape and torture.
Oh, my goodness. I got to read that story.
Yeah, I remember it when it came out, because I remembered him from UFC and then Shoot Fighter 2 and was like, oh, yeah, Lorenzo beat him up too. All right.
Heaven's sakes. That's really sad.
But that's a hell of a good movie, though. I loved Bad Blood.
Yeah, a good movie. Excellent movie.
Final Round is one of my favorites. That's the one I'm pushing MVD. MVD, I know you're listening to this because I do your social media. Let's get this movie on the Blu-ray. This is a Honey Human for Sport movie. Did you have fun with that one?
Which one was that again?
Final Round.
Yeah, Final Round. Another movie with my friend, the expert whip and whipmaster, Anthony DeLongis.
Yes.
Anthony DeLongis. What a pleasure he was to work with. He was such a skilled martial artist and whipmaster. It was actually a lot of fun working on that movie.
I liked Midnight Man. You got to work with Mako.
Yeah, I worked with him a couple of different movies, actually.
I thought Midnight Man was, it's got another title. I think it's Blood for Blood. That was another. I mean, that had a couple of really weird mystical elements, but that was a heck of a good movie that didn't get a lot of notoriety.
I agree.
Mask of Death was a hell of a movie where your plastic surgery consisted of shaving the mustache. I thought that was awesome, but that was a great film. I had a chin implant and a fake nose. That's right. You didn't have the dimple. I forgot that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for the walk down memory lane.
Yeah, I mean, they're the one that I was surprised that I have to ask why it didn't get a theatrical play is The Rage with you and Gary Busey.
Well, I was promised that I was going to get theatrical. That's why I cut my hair between Renegade season 4 and 5. And it didn't get a theatrical release. It got a straight-to-video release, so I ended up having to wear a hairpiece for the last season of Renegade, which I still, to this day, get comments on.
I won't lie. Anyone that knows me knows that I copied your look in Renegade to a T back in that time, and it worked for me, fans. I just unfortunately can't grow my hair out anymore. Half of it's gone.
Oh, man. Well, hey, thanks for the time. It was really enjoyable spending this hour or so with you. I really enjoyed walking down memory lane.
Sorry, I took
a lot of memories.
Sorry, I took up so much of your time. You know, I mean, there's so much else you could talk about. Air America, The Immortal, another great show.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, you were. I want to thank you so much. Remember, NSM Records Snake Eater comes out September 11th. Order it now. Real quick, where can all your fans find you online?
I'm on Twitter at Lorenzo Lamas, Instagram Lorenzo_Lamas, and Facebook at Lorenzo Lamas with the blue check.
Thank you so much. I really mean it when I say this has been a highlight of my life. It's been an honor.
My honor, and thank you. Let's get back in touch in the not too distant future.
Well, looking forward to it already.
Thank you.
Thank you.